Tatiana Rundek, Director of the Evelyn F. McKnight Brain Institute at the University of Miami, one of the only 4 institutes in the country funded by the gift from McKnight Brain Research Foundation. We are dedicated to uniting a diverse teams of scientists and clinicians to drive a cutting-edge research on age-related memory loss and cognitive impairment. We hope you'll find these talks informative and inspiring.
Hello, and welcome to another session on Aging Like a Pro. I'm Dr. Nicole, and I'm going to be talking about eating smarter for brain health. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to define brain health, talk about why it's important. I'll discuss the brain-nutrition connection and the importance of nutrition for healthy aging, and then I'll get into the nitty-gritty of eating for a healthy brain, what to eat, what not to eat, and provide some practical tips for healthy eating in everyday life. So let's start off with brain health. What is brain health exactly? This has become quite a popular concept, not just for researchers and academics and physicians, but also the public health in general, the general public, even mainstream media. We're all so concerned about aging and healthy aging, but we don't want to just live longer. We want to preserve quality of life. And so that's what brain health is. Brain health can be defined as the state of brain functioning across cognitive, sensory, social, emotional, behavioral, and motor domains. And it's what allows us to realize our full potential over the life course, regardless of the presence or absence of disease. Remember, we should think about our brain as the powerhouse. It's who we are. It's our personality. It's our ability to communicate and engage with our environment, do the things we love, enjoy work. The brain is really the powerhouse. And so we want to maintain our brain's functions throughout our life course to maintain quality of life. So where does nutrition play a role? So in terms of the brain-nutrition connection, think of the brain like a busy city with lots of busy workers, your brain cells. And these workers are out and about all day long doing really important jobs, learning, listening, thinking, making decisions, feeling, moving about the environment. So just like a city, your brain needs a constant source of fuel and building blocks and building materials to function properly. And that's where food and nutrition come in. And just to drive home the point a little bit more in terms of the importance of nutrition for healthy aging, we know that in the US, heart disease, stroke, and dementia or memory decline are the leading cause of death and disability in the US. But we also know that healthy, well-balanced diet has been linked to prevention of heart disease, prevention of stroke, prevention of things like high blood pressure, diabetes, and overall, healthy nutrition is associated with healthy aging. So what does eating smarter look like exactly? So first, understanding the types of nutrients that are essential for brain health. Macronutrients, or the macros, like proteins, carbs, and fats. These are the essential building blocks that your brain needs to perform its functions. But also micronutrients, like vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, which fight against cell damage. These are crucial too. So once we know the types of nutrients that are essential for brain health, then it comes to identifying and prioritizing nutrient-rich foods. Where can we get these nutrients and in healthy portions? And finally, making a very consistent and intentional plan to incorporate healthy foods into everyday life. Healthy eating, eating smarter, it's a lifestyle and it's a dynamic process carried out throughout our lives. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of nutrients. So macronutrients, or macros as they're commonly referred to, we're talking about proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. So healthy sources of proteins include proteins from lean meats like chicken, fish, poultry, salmon, but also beans, legumes, leafy greens like spinach and kale. And you have to think about the protein package. So if we compare, for example, an 8-ounce steak, beef steak, compared to 8 ounces of a salmon fillet, both of those foods are going to have high protein content. But the steak is going to come with unhealthy fats that clog up our arteries and are associated with inflammation and have increased disease risk. Whereas the salmon is loaded with healthy fats like omega-3 fatty acids. So we want to think about the protein package that we're consuming. Next are carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are the main source of fuel for the brain, basically broken down into sugar, and that's what your brain uses as fuel. But there's healthy carbs, primarily in whole grains, vegetables, especially green leafy vegetables, as well as beans. And these foods, the whole grains, green leafy vegetables, and colorful vegetables, as well as beans, are also packed with fiber. Fiber is a type of carbohydrate that actually can't be broken down by your digestive system, but it does help with digestion and it helps regulate sugars. So you have healthy amount of sugar in your body for your brain to function well. And finally, the fats. We have our good fats, which are unsaturated fats and come from vegetable oils, healthy meats like salmon that are packed with omega-3 fatty acids. And then the bad fats, so the trans fats and the saturated fats. Trans fats are probably the worst kind. They come from fried foods, sometimes foods provided in restaurants, especially if they're fried, as well as baked goods. And these are the types of fats that actually build up in the arteries. They clog your arteries and can contribute to heart attack, stroke, and vascular disease, as well as dementia down the road. And then the saturated fats, which are in meat products like beef or dairy products like cheese, ice cream, things of that nature that should be consumed in moderation. Not as bad as the trans fats, but still associated with increased inflammation and markers of disease. Then there are the micronutrients. If you think about your macros, like the essential building blocks that's crucial to laying down the foundation for a healthy brain, the micronutrients are the smaller supportive nutrients that maintain that foundation. So vitamins, especially the B complex vitamins like B12, which are very important for brain health, but also vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin E, and then other nutrients such as calcium, sodium, potassium, and zinc. These are also micronutrients. So how can we create a diet and eat a diet that contains all of these healthy nutrients for brain health? Essentially, what are brain healthy foods? So the MIND diet, which stands for the Mediterranean Diet Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay, long name, but simply called the MIND diet. It's a mix of the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet, two diets that prioritize brain healthy foods that have been proven in prior studies to be associated with reduced cognitive decline, healthier hearts, healthier brains over time. And so the brain healthy foods in the MIND diet are comprised of green leafy vegetables and other vegetables. The more colorful, the more variety, the better. At least 6 to 7 servings per week, ideally every single day. Also prioritizing nuts, berries for antioxidants and for healthy fats and healthy carbs. Whole grains in moderation, in addition to getting healthy proteins from poultry and fish, not fried and also in moderation, as well as beans for another source of healthy protein, and using olive oil as the main fat in the diet. Foods to avoid in the MIND diet include butter or margarine, less than a tablespoon a day, or basically the size of your thumb. You can use that as an index amount. Less pastries and sweets, so less than a few servings a week. Avoiding fried foods as much as possible, less than 1 serving per week. Consuming red meat and products in moderation, very rarely, less than 4 servings per week. And limiting cheese to less than 1 serving a week. And so, rule of thumb, for all of these serving sizes, for these foods to avoid, you can think about a serving size as the size of your thumb. So how do we incorporate this into our everyday meals? How do we incorporate more of these brain-healthy foods into our everyday meals? And one great tip is visualizing the healthy eating plate. So if you consider your regular, everyday dinner plate, about 9 inches, half of that plate should be consumed by vegetables and fruits. The more colorful, the better, because that's how you know you're getting diverse nutrients, lots of minerals, lots of vitamins, and the healthy carbs and healthy fats that you need in your diet. If you just fill half of the plate with potatoes, for example, which is technically a vegetable, you're not going to be getting the diverse nutrients that your brain needs. Then the other half of the plate, a quarter of it should be whole grains. So instead of white rice or white breads, sticking to brown rice or multigrain breads. And in the other quarter of the plate, a healthy protein, either beans or lean meats like chicken and fish. And another great tip here is you'll notice the water next to the plate. Don't drink your calories. Hydrate with water and limit the amount of oils that you add to your food using olive oils and plant-based oils. Again, rule of thumb, just size of your thumb for the amount. So what does this look like in everyday life? I want to show you some examples of quick, easy, and nutrient-rich foods that you can have as part of your everyday meals. Here, for sample breakfast ideas, we have Greek yogurt with oats and fresh berries. It's packed with protein, packed with whole grains from the oats, and lots of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants from the berries, which help fight cell damage. We also have avocado on whole grain toast with poached egg or a boiled egg, again, loaded with protein, healthy whole grains, and limiting the unhealthy fats. Or you can also have oatmeal with fresh berries, for example, and adding a lot of flavor with either cinnamon or spices, some natural honey for sweetness, but avoiding adding salt or refined sugars to your foods. In terms of sample lunch, take a look at this taco bowl. Look how colorful it is. That's a really nice indicator and very easy kind of visual indicator of how the diversity in the foods that you're eating. So some brown rice with beans for the whole grains and protein, some mixed greens for vitamins, minerals. If they're leafy greens, lots of protein there too. You can add all sorts of different vegetables like peppers, corn, other chopped veggies for your nutrients, as well as ground turkey or chicken to serve as your lean source of protein. And then for a sample dinner, we have here baked salmon, which could also be chicken breast, some steamed vegetables or leafy greens. Remember, that should take up at least half of the plate, and then a quarter of the plate whole grain, such as a whole grain roll or some brown rice or couscous or quinoa as your whole grain. So ideally, 3 nutrient-packed meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then in between, instead of grabbing those potato chips or unhealthy foods that are overly processed and with unhealthy fats, grab some fruit, either fresh fruit or dried fruit, and nuts, preferably unsalted, for your snacks. And so some tips to try and start incorporating these healthy, nutrient-rich foods into your everyday life and making it a lifestyle. Planning, planning, planning. It's so important to kind of start your week thinking about the different things that you're going to eat throughout the week, planning your meals, making a menu for you and for your family. That's going to be the start of then creating a grocery list, identifying what do I already have at home, what do I need to get, and sticking with the list, sticking with the budget that you set aside for yourself. Leverage coupons and reward programs that grocery stores offer so that you can really get the bang for your buck. Focusing on buying lots of produce that's seasonal. Tends to be cheaper when it's seasonal rather than off-season produce. And remember the healthy eating plate. Keep that in mind. Lots of fruits and veggies should take up at least half of your plate, and then a whole grain and a healthy protein. Also, remember to be patient with yourself, but persevere and keep a consistent practice. It's not so much about being perfect every single day, but an overall pattern of healthy behaviors really does make a difference when it comes to brain health. And generally, we're better at keeping ourselves accountable when we do things with a group. So doing it with a group might help you stay accountable more easily than doing things on your own. And lastly, remember to keep track of a healthy weight and a healthy BMI or body mass index. Know your numbers and talk to your doctor about whether or not you're in the healthy range. This is an indirect indicator if what you're eating is actually being helpful in terms of keeping a healthy weight, keeping a healthy BMI, and preventing heart disease, stroke, and dementia down the road. And if you're not within that healthy target, consult with a nutritionist or dietitian for more. So remember, eating smarter is really important for brain health and for maintaining quality of life throughout the life course. Focus on eating colorful, remember the healthy eating plate, and have a plan. And if you fall off track, don't beat yourself up over it. Just get back on track and focus on the things that may have interrupted the course along the way. Make notes, make changes, and keep it going.
Thank you for watching. Thank you to all the participants who have come to our lectures. Thank you to our partners. And most of all, thank you to our sponsors. See you next time. Keep aging like a pro.